Hey everybody, this is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com. This is the third in our series of videos on JavaScript events. Now here what I want to do is talk about not, actually let's create another file, events.javascript. Okay, we're going to talk about how to create events not in the browser, but in Node. So again, Node is how we run JavaScript outside of the browser. And inside Node, we have a lot of built-in libraries. So I'm going to bring in const events equals require events. That's the events library. Okay. And now with that, we can create a new event emitter. An event emitter object is an event, and it's an object that can emit events and then respond to those events. Okay, cool. So what I'll do is I'll just say const emitter. This is going to be our new event emitter equals new events dot event emitter. Okay, and there we go. We've created this event emitter object. And the way it works is pretty straightforward. Let's create like an event listener, something that's going to run when an event occurs. We just say emitter dot on, and you'll notice that this is oftentimes added to other objects, like other objects in your libraries have an emitter built inside of it. So the one that always comes to mind is like the Mongoose library when working with Mongo. In the Mongoose object, there's like a mongoose.connection. That connection object is technically an emitter object and emits events from when the connection's open, closed, that kind of thing. So I'm going to say emitter.on. We'll say on an event. Okay. And when that event occurs, basically we're going to run this function. Console.log I happened. Okay. Let me just bring up the terminal now. Boop. Boop. So now, if I run the code right now, nothing's going to happen. Okay, so we'll actually, let me just show this console log here. I always happen because this is not an event triggered console log, it's just part of the code. So now if I run this code, node events, the only thing that happens is I always happen. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to trigger the event afterwards. So I'm going to say emitter dot emit, and then you put in the string for what event it is, so an event. So an event is occurring. Okay, and now if I run this, see now, I happened. This event happened, because the minute this ran, that emitter looked through all the listeners on it and saw that this function was on there attached to that specific string, an event, and then ran that function. Now what if I want to pass information to that function? Like, let's see here, I go comma, I want to pass an object with, you know, message, and the message is hello world. So I want to do that. I can do so. Okay, so I'll just sit there and we'll call this my obj as my parameter. So what happens is that when this function now gets run, this, whatever the second argument is, or actually every argument going forward, will be passed in that order. So this will be the first argument passed in. So that'll be obj. So I can do this, obj.message. Okay, and now watch what happens when I run the event. Oops, I get an error. Let me think about that for a second. Obj.message of undefined. Obj.message. Hello world. Let's fix that. This is console log obj. I always happen. There's the object. Interesting. Oh, because I put it in the console log. There we go. Okay. Oh, you can tell it's an early on a Saturday morning. Okay, so I want to pass that here. Message. Hello world. I'll get a cup of coffee after this. Okay. There we go. So see there, that object, this second argument, gets passed into the function. And if I were to do this again, pass in another object as a third argument to emit message goodbye world. Okay, that's obj2. That's the second argument being passed into my function. Okay, and I can just keep adding more arguments. Probably simpler just to have one object with all your data, but you can. And see, there we go. I have a second argument. So you can pass in all the information you want into the function. Okay, it's not like the DOM where you have this like sort of preset event object, because there's certain information you really need in the browser about, like, you know, what location, what's the exact coordinates of the DOM element, what is the DOM element. Here, you can design it yourself. So, you know, you have a blank canvas for how these events are going to work, which is pretty cool. You know, generally you would have these events triggered like at the end of something. So maybe you have like this whole thing that you want to happen, but you want things to happen after that thing happens. So what you can do is you can emit an event and then create listeners that will then run when that event gets emitted at the end of the sequence. And or you can put different event emissions throughout your code that other libraries can listen to. There's different ways you can do this. It's pretty useful. So if you've ever seen like this .on function, which is you'll see pretty much in like every library and a lot of the standard libraries, it's because they're using custom events under the hood. They're using this whole event emitter syntax. So my name is Alex Merced. Have a great day and enjoy.